I'm not going to make the comments about the season. You saw it. And I'll talk a little bit about these guys, but I'm kind of doing it in a funny way in a little while. But, you know, every year, and those of you who've been coming, some of you have been coming every year for 16 years I've been doing this, I try to come up with some concept, some theme, something to do here. And I was struggling this year, you know, and this is what I came up with at first. It was 4. You know, something around the number 4, right? There's 4 seniors, their 4th straight championship. So I thought, what could it be? 4, you know, there's 4 suits in a deck of cards. There's 4 directions, 4 seasons, but none of them are going to be the winner. Famous groups of 4 people, like the 4 horsemen, you know, John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Unfortunately, the players don't know who that is. We're like, who is that? But then I ran across this. I thought, superheroes. Would that be too cheesy? Okay, a team of cave crusaders fighting the evildoers of the Mountain West. Could this work? So we'd have to come up with names and superpowers for all 4 of them. So we'll start with Meg. And I thought, well, I could go with like Super Meg or Megatron. And then it hit me that her blocking is like a magnet that stops shots from crossing the net. So as a parody to Magneto, we're going with Magneto. You know, and I started doing this one, and I'm like, why the hell didn't I think of this back in August? I could have told our marketing guys this. We could have like a whole series of posters for all the players. You know, different villains in the Mountain West we're fighting every week. So then for Izzy, I feel like I needed something that reflected energy and leadership and of course some flair, you know. She's a team captain, so I thought Captain America, and I said, well, there's a problem with that because she's not an American citizen. So what I came up with was Takakawa Brazil. She plays great defense. She's got great flexibility because of all the dancing she does. So that's, we could actually, when we announce her in the starting lineup, put like a carnival headdress on her like this. Maybe have her dance to some merengue music. We come out starting lineup.
Come on, Izzy.
All right, then Brianna. So Brianna's an interesting one too, because obviously her superpowers are she jumps very high. She hits the ball very hard. She jumps high and flies in the air. Hits like a rocket. But you can't discount her style. You know, if she has a superhero uniform, it's going to have to be very nicely accessorized. And so what I thought for Brianna was it would be supermodel by day and superhero by night. So I made up this name, Roxy Rocket, and then I Googled it, and there is a Roxy Rocket. So it shows that I'm right in line with the Marvel Comics guys. Yeah, she's got I mean, that's a nice jacket. I bet she got it at like some super nice department store. Okay, so now we go on to Dana. Dana to me was the most obvious one. She's a tall brunette with an athletic build. Who do you think about? Think of the superheroes. Most people might think of Wonder Woman. Well, I'm going to call her Wonderful Woman. So Dana's superpowers are she's a great all-around player, but she's just got this huge heart. And we tease her all the time because she's so incredibly nice. And I don't know if niceness is a superpower, but she's the kind of person that criminals would just meet her and turn themselves in because they feel guilty because she's so nice. You know, there would be conversations between her and her teammates talking about the evil villains of the Mountain West, and she'd be like, You know, guys, I bet they just had a bad childhood experience. I think they're really nice people and we should put the Cold Stone with them after the game. So now that we've created our superheroes, you have to have a story, right? I always tell a story of these things, and the story's going to have some other characters. Every superhero needs a nemesis, or in this case, several rival gangs, okay? This is our Fantastic Four logo with these four on it. Their rival gangs would be just examples like the Aztecs and the Waves, okay? And then we'd have to have a local police captain named Captain Jack Graham, who gives our heroes all of the resources they need to fight the rival gangs. Then there's me. A no-good, nuisance newsman. Who's constantly badgering the Fantastic Four, trying to reveal their true identities and source of their powers. My name is Carl Aradoin. I want to tell you a story. A story of an incredible group of heroes. It was autumn 2012 and I was sitting in my office in downtown Ramtown. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. There hadn't been much to write about since last December when the Fantastic Four had an all-out brawl in Hawaii. They were beat up pretty bad, but vowed to keep fighting for pride in the Mountain West. Then the phone rang. It was Nick Hallisey telling me he needed me to get down to Moby. The preseason training was about to start. Moby Arena was still hot and sticky from the summer training camps. The Ram volleyball team had just finished a volleyball camp for kids with attention deficit disorder. They only played 5-point games. The kids were gone, but the smell of hardwood floors and leather volleyballs was still there. The thin mountain air was thick today, and that thickness had a name. Its name was expectation. In just hours, the 2012 Ram volleyball team and their leaders, Magneto, Roxy Rocket, Captain Brazil, and Wonderful Woman, would be back in Moby in preparation for the season's opening weekend. Captain Jack Graham had declared 2012 a bold new era and called for everyone to join the Fantastic Four in a quest for another championship. Captain Jack had high expectations. And the expectations rested on the shoulders of this Fantastic Four, and it was heavy, but no heavier than the weights they had been pumping all summer. They were used to expectations, and this year would be no different. The season started with a familiar foe. A coach named Jesse the Joker brought his Pioneers. The Rams showed no mercy and sent the Pioneers and 2 other gangs packing. And this was just a warm-up. Later in September, the Bruins invaded Moby Arena, and that was a real fight. The Bruins had been knighted as the toughest in the land. The Rams fought fearlessly blow by blow. They jumped just as high and hit just as hard. In the 5th and final set, 5,000 citizens of Ramtown stood up to cheer on the Four and their trusted team. It was a clash of 2 mighty powers. The Bruins were not defeated, but they left Ramtown vying never to come back. After that match, I started firing questions at the Fantastic Four. What are your real names? What exactly are your powers? You look like athletes, not superheroes. Without speaking, the Four showed me 3 rings. Championship rings. These rings bring power to our team. All we have to do is reach up high, bring these rings together, and ram them up. Captain Jack beamed with pride. When we ram up, we're more than a team. That's more power than you can imagine, Carl. But what are your superpowers, really? Just watch and you'll see, Roxy snapped, and they left the room. The Rams and the Fantastic Four were now on a mission for a 4th ring. They had the magic of Moby Arena surging through their bodies and the power of the rings flowing through their veins. Magneto blocked and Roxy rocked. Captain Brazil dug up spikes and danced with joy. And Wonderful Woman, well, she did it all. Passing, hitting, blocking. she was feeling the weight every match. But things weren't all hunky-dory. It seemed that Moby magic would go away once they left the building. When they played on the road, they couldn't change into superheroes. They kept looking for a telephone booth to change into, but there were no telephone booths anymore. The cell phone era is tough on superheroes. They fell to the Lobos, Aztecs, and Bulldogs, and then one afternoon in Las Vegas, it all seemed to come together. Roxy Rocket and Wonderful Woman were not so wonderful to the Rebels. They pounded spikes like a nail gun in a wood floor. What happened in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas that day. The Rams left town feeling the fourth ring. All they had to do was go get it. Down the stretch, the pressure was mounting. The Rams were tied with the Aztecs, each team waiting for another to fall. The Rams and their 4 champions canned the Cowgirls in Laramie. They bucked the Broncos in Boise. With the help of the Moby crowd, they won their home matches. It came down to the final home match, senior night, against the Lobo gang. It was the last match for the Fantastic Four. There were tears and cheers and, of course, dancing. I sat courtside as the citizens of Ramtown stood up to honor the 4 Crusaders. They lost the first set, but as they switched sides and rammed up, they could feel the power of the fourth ring. The Rams won the last 3 sets in convincing fashion. The Fantastic Four waved the banner, they held the trophy, and the ring was theirs. After the match, I was up to my same old antics. Now that you won the championship, tell us your real names. No answer. The citizens deserve to know who you are. Is it true you really don't have superpowers? You're just a bunch of student athletes playing a game? Even with the cheering outside, the room went silent. Carl had touched a nerve with the Fantastic Four. Captain Brazil started off. I get up early every morning to work out, then I go to class and study my butt off. After that, I practice and study some more. I'm winning games and making A's. I don't just play a game, I live it every day. That's a superpower if I've ever seen one. I just shook my head. Roxy stepped up. You think the way I jump is normal, Carl? I jump and touch 10 feet 5 inches now. I stole another inch from gravity just this fall. I get an inch here and it earns a block. An inch there gets a kill. Add up all those inches, you get a championship. That's my power. Magneto added, look around this room. Where else do you see this much class, athleticism, grace, and power all wrapped up in the same team for 4 years in a row? That goes beyond what any one player can do. Then Wonderful Woman could take it no longer. As politely as she could, she started to lecture. Carl, I don't wake up and go to 6 a.m. weights feeling like a hero. When I go to class every day and spend all my spare time studying, I don't feel like a hero either. But then I put on my Ram uniform and I start to feel the magic. When my teammates and I take the court in Moby Arena, we feel super. We feel super when thousands of people watch and cheer. They stand up and chant, I'm proud to be a CSU Ram. And I help create that pride. After the match, young girls and boys line up to get autographs from all of us. And you realize you're a role model, and you might make a difference in the life of a child. All that work I put in, it's worth it. If that's not being a superhero, Carl, I don't know what is. I was speechless. The crowd outside was chanting, CSU, CSU, CSU. Something incredible began to happen. There was an energy in Moby I couldn't explain. I watched as the Fantastic Four walked back out on the court, raising their hands above their heads for a final ram up. As they stood together with their hands in the air, there was a glow. A fourth ring appeared. We all stood in witness. The Fantastic Four's mission was accomplished. Now I'm back in my shoddy office in Ramtown finishing this story. And it's a story about what the Fantastic Four has taught me. I finally realized that being a superhero has nothing to do with being able to leap a tall building or stop a train. Being a superhero is about what you give to a university, to a city like Ramtown, to your teammates. All that work, dedication, and giving makes a team a team. And that's much more powerful than any one person can be. The city's asleep now, and the Fantastic Four are part of Ramtown history. I can already hear the sounds of barbells clanking and volleyballs bouncing in Moby Arena in the early mornings. Who will be the next heroes? Who will be our new rival from the Mountain West? Nobody knows. There's one thing I did find out, though. Their names are Meg, Izzy, Brianna, and Dana. They're all going to graduate and start a new life in that crazy world after college. But I'm not going to break. Because I say we keep believing in Moed Magic. Keep believing in the power of Ram Up. And let's remember the Fantastic Four for what they are. Superheroes.